The Expanse.
All right, this is from our Lord and Savior Obsidian Ant, who saved our channel from being canceled, and stepped in with an email to the Google overlords and saved us. So let's see what Obsidian's up to, because this Expanse game was something we had watched about 3 months ago when we saw the trailer, and I'm kind of curious because Obsidian says, is this the Expanse game we've been waiting for? All right, let's check it out. I'm a big Expanse fan. I love The Expanse.
The Expanse ranks amongst my favourite sci-fi shows of all time, and it's an absolutely great novel as well. It was a shame then to see the sci-fi series cancelled over on Amazon. Fortunately though, we see a return to the Expanse universe with this brand new game from Telltale. This, however, brings up one big question. Is this the Expanse game that we've been waiting for? Well, the answer to that is a bit of a mixed bag. It's not entirely yes and not entirely no.
Okay.
We'll get into the reasons for that in this video. Also, I very briefly want to thank everyone for their support they've shown this channel.
By the way, Drummer is just, I have a huge crush on Kamina Drummer. Like, Lady Pirates really get me in the feels. I mean, they just... Something about Lady Pirates. Just something about Lady Pirates.
Over the years, without you, this channel certainly wouldn't exist. And for anyone else who would like to help out, please do check those links in the video description,
where
you can find a link to Patreon.
I don't think it's a secret, G.
Now, unfortunately, right here, I would have absolutely loved to have opened this video with the theme song to The Expanse.
But I love you, Christy.
It is included in the game on the main menu, but unfortunately, it will get this video copyright flagged, so yeah, we can't use that. Before we jump in, though, I do want to get a few things out of the way. These are a few criticisms that I just want to get out of the way so we don't have to dwell on them. So, my first concern is the way that this game is currently being marketed over on the Epic Store, that is, as of today. This may change in a few weeks. The other issue is to do with the game's length. We're going to cover both of these very, very briefly and then move on. So, the marketing over on the Epic Store, it shows that for the price of £31, £32 thereabouts, you get 5 episodes of The Expanse. What it doesn't tell you is that as of today, the 27th of July, that these 5 episodes are not immediately available. They will be releasing with a gap. You can see the release date for each episode on the screen right here. Now, in a month...
That's typical, though, isn't it? I mean, like, they're just piecemealing it out. That's a typical practice with a lot of these game developers and publishers, man. That's just typical. And this is Telltale Games, so I wasn't expecting, like, a home run with this, sketch. I kind of agree with you. It looks a little too cartoony for my taste. I like the realism. Like, I would definitely like a more realistic drummer butt.
Month from now, this won't be a problem to anyone making the purchase, but initially up front for anyone buying today or tomorrow, it's going to be a bit of a surprise.
I would have to agree, Mad Style. I would have to agree with you.
And then receive the end
definitely
credits.
Need that,
further game
definitely need that.
Obviously, for that price, they do get all 5 episodes. It's just going to be a case they have to wait. The waiting itself isn't so much a problem, but the lack of dates on the Epic Store certainly is. The second issue is the length of each of these episodes. Now, for anyone who's played Telltale games in the past, you'll probably be well aware that their games tend not to be very long. The first episode I got through in around about 1 hour. The other...
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Really? That is so shameful. Here's the thing. Did we expect more from Telltale? Yeah, it's a Telltale game title. You know what I mean? Like, I was actually surprised it got the licensing on this for it to make this. I think, in a way, it almost feels like a money grab for me. But did we expect more from Telltale? I don't think any of us really did if we think about it.
Other episodes are expected to be between 1 hour and 1.5 hours in length. That makes the total game around about 7 hours
They're
long.
just kind of like, Hugh is absolutely right. Telltale games are like interactive novels. You're absolutely right.
Thereabouts. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not really all that long. I'd much rather see a slightly more lengthy story.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I agree with him. It should be more lengthy. That's what she said. I'm just, she says that all the time. It really hurts my feelings. But I will say this. These Telltale game titles remind me from the 90s, the Sierra Online King's Quest series. What was the other one? Hero Quest. You guys remember those back in the days in the 90s when you played them? They could be fun. They had their fun moments, but they were just like a novel of sorts. He was absolutely right. They're just kind of like an interactive novel walkthrough. But right, Futz. Futz is like, yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you're agreeing with me because I agree with me as well, Futz. So I just have to say one thing to you.
I'm in a fountain.
But Matt's style was correct. In the 90s, the walkthroughs on these types of games like King's Quest and Hero Quest were much longer. You could play those games for hours and hours and hours and hours on end. And the puzzles were actually much more difficult than I think what these kiddos are playing today. I think they're very easy. If you play a Telltale game, it's a very easy way to figure out. The puzzles aren't very hard. They're very easy to solve. And back in the day, you had to take your time with it. What the hell was the name of that title? That was where you were stranded on an alien planet. It was so good, and the puzzles were so difficult. Now, I don't think that was made by Sierra. It might have been The Dig. Do you guys remember The Dig? That game was the jam back in the day. That was like a walkthrough game that was done on a huge, amazing scale. I loved The Dig. The Dig was an awesome title.
Of that story, it does seem to be pretty good, at least based on what I've seen so far. So with those few criticisms out of the way, let's get into the game. We find ourselves as Captain Drummer, voiced by the original actress in the TV show Cara G. With the XO on board the Artemis, and the game opens with the captain being dragged into the airlock. Immediately, it's very clear that the game is going to be using the tried and tested Telltale formula, which of course is making decisions that have far-reaching consequences. In this case, do we space the captain, or do we show mercy? At this point in the game, which has only just started the story, we don't really have any context, and so it would be impossible to make that decision, wouldn't it? Therefore, the story places us back 8 hours earlier. Now, I don't want to go too much into the details of the story for this game because this game is primarily about narrative and story. Therefore, if I go into too much detail, it will spoil things. But what I will say is that it does have great characters with story that has layers to it, just like the TV show and the books. Now, in terms of gameplay, it very much follows the same structure as other Telltale games, such as The Walking Dead, as well as Wolf Among Us. That means that this is very much a slow burn game, both in terms of narrative as well as gameplay. You won't require any Twitch-based reactions here, and in some of the action-based scenes, you get plenty of warning and plenty of time to input the respective commands. For many games, this would feel a little bit lame, but when Telltale really do focus on a narrative, and this is the primary focus for The Expanse, then yeah, this is, just fine. It works pretty well. When it comes to navigating around the environments, this is all pretty good as well. It's fine. It does what it's required. I did have one issue with the mouse though. I tried playing with the keyboard and mouse, and when rotating the camera around, the sensitivity of the mouse is super low, and there's no way to change a camera sensitivity for the mouse in the game settings. In the end, I found it easier to simply switch over to a gamepad. Whilst there does seem to be some walk sensitivity settings as well as some EVA sensitivity settings, they didn't really seem to do much, at least when it comes to the mouse. Dialogue is also a massive part of this game, and you'll find yourself having to choose different options when it comes to conversations.
Call me that again.
Some of these will make just small differences to the overall conversation, but some will have far-reaching consequences. They can lead to the character really liking you or outright hating you. I won't go into any details onto the story itself for this thing. I mean, you're seeing enough in the background in terms of footage, but I'm also trying to avoid too much in the way of spoilers. Either way, you will experience a little bit of combat in the terms of quick-time events, few action sequences, a lot of walking around and exploring corridors, as well as a whole load of conversation. You'll also get to do some zero-G exploration as well, both out in space as well as on board ships. In the end then, playing The Expanse feels very much like watching a new episode of the TV series. This of course is greatly helped by Cara G, who has an amazing performance as drummer. which is a great character after all, as well as a very good supporting cast and some fantastic characters. And you'll get to know these characters over the course of the episode and hopefully kind of bond with them along the way, or maybe not so much bond, depending on the options you choose there. Ultimately then, if you've played both a Telltale game before as well as watched the Expanse TV show, then you'll know exactly what to expect from this game. If you haven't done either, but are looking for a decent narrative experience, then this could be a very good option for you. Ultimately then, as to whether this is the Expanse game that we've been waiting for, that really depends on whether, for you, Expanse is all about narrative.
Make an RTS Expanse
If the answer
game,
to
then
that
I'm in.
is yes,
Oh, that's
then
already
it
out,
certainly
Pepe?
does fill that need.
That's called
But if,
Falling
on the other
Frontier?
hand,
Okay.
the Expanse for you is about combat, spaceships, as well as a vast politically interwoven story, then this probably is not the game you're looking for. Either way, at this point it's very hard to make a true judgment call, as we've only got access to episode 1, which, like I say, I got through in just about 1 hour. So please don't see this as a full review. There's more to come. We've got another 4 episodes to look at.
No, I mean, like, here's the thing. I can tell you right now, it's not going to be great unless you're into that style of game. Some people are. I'm not bashing people that are, but it's just not my flavor. And what's that, Pepe? What are you saying? Why are you turning that off? You want to do what? You want to show everybody the screen that I'm working on right now to the audience? Why would you ever want to do that? Why would you ever want to do... Oh. Okay, I was looking her up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Pepe, you have to stop doing that. You cannot show them what I'm doing while streaming. That's terrible.